Medical school is hard, probably harder than any prior degree that you've completed. There's so many hours spent memorizing and applying theoretical and clinical concepts, both in class and then eventually on the wards in hospitals and clinical settings. But just because there's all of that going on doesn't mean that you can't have a life outside of medical school. Hey friends, welcome back to another video. In this video, I wanted to talk about the common myth that people do not have a life when they're in medical school. Obviously, it depends on what medical school you go to. Based on the curriculum, you might have more time or less time. It also depends on what kind of person you are, but ultimately, a good work-life balance is crucial to anyone's success in medical school. An upper medical student once told me that medical school is what you make of it. And I have lived by this saying since the start of medical school. It sounds like it's been a long time, but it's been a couple of months. But you get the point. Obviously, it's important to prioritize and focus on your studies. But if you only do that, you're more likely to burn out than not. That's why work-life balance is so important, so that you find the time to do even the little things in life that you enjoy to help keep you in check so that you can keep others in check as a physician in the future. So in this video, I actually got a couple of quotes from other medical students in my program that come from a diverse background. So you'll see that they talk about different things that they do outside of medical school. It's really, really interesting to see how many things people are able to do outside of medical school. For me, a good work-life balance is being able to do fairly well in school. Given that it's a pass-fail system, I don't have to aim for 100. Obviously, I'm not aiming for a 60, but as long as I do fairly well, whatever well is for me might be different for you, but that's not important. What is important is that I have the time to also spend time with my friends, my family, my significant other, and then also get the time to do some of the extracurriculars that I love doing, such as traditional Greek dancing, playing soccer. I'm actually going out with a couple of friends for a pickup game tonight, as well as be an executive member of certain clubs and organizations. And I also find the time to do some research on the side because I think it's important in helping me narrow down what my medical interests are. And doing some research on the side obviously won't hurt with respect to my application for residency down the road. So I should probably specify that before going through the medical quotes, I asked on my Instagram account one day, I asked some of my medical colleagues to tell me a little bit about what they do outside of medical school and if they find it difficult to manage all of this and still do fairly well in medical school. So let's start with some of the medical quotes from my classmates. So one of my classmates said that she spent 90% of her time watching Netflix, cooking, or sleeping. And then I asked her if she finds it difficult to find time for her friends, family, or significant other. And she said, well, probably to the detriment of her studies. She does spend a lot of time with her significant other. She sees her family and friends. And like she said, she highlighted the importance of the pass-fail system. So she prioritizes her mental health and her relationships over classes, and I think this is very, very important because you don't have to get 100% to do well in medical school. If you're not well mentally, if you're not mentally happy or healthy, then why put yourself through all of that struggle in medical school? And of course, she consented to being part of this video, as did everyone that I will be showing in this video. So my second classmate said that her favorite things, some of her favorite things to do are working out, trying new restaurants, hanging out with friends, and of course Netflix. And I asked her, well, do you find it difficult to manage all of that with school? And she says that the most difficult part is to coordinate with everyone's schedule. When you're a medical student, your schedule is obviously heavier than not. And then depending on what your friends do or your family do for a living, it might be difficult to coordinate hanging out with them. And she mentions how, she works out right away when she comes home from school. And now she's even trying to work out in the morning. I commend her for that because I cannot work out. I can't study in the morning. It's not me. And of course, she says it's a good method of procrastination. I agree. But it's also a good method to relieve stress. I find working out really helps get your mind off of whatever has been bothering you. And of course, it helps you stay physically and mentally healthy. So the next classmate of mine is actually one of the members on Coda, which I've been highlighting on my social media platforms lately. So link in the description below to check them out. So this person is very much involved in Coda outside of medical school. And I asked him, how are you so involved with an organization? You play such a big role in that organization. You're able to manage that with medical school. And this person is someone who told me that they set their priorities straight. They've understood that it's not all about being the best student. And there's this misconception that to be a good doctor, you have to master all the medical concepts. There's truth to that with regards to what specialty you're in, of course. But it doesn't mean that right now as a medical student, you need to know every single thing that's in your textbook and that's on your PowerPoint slides and whatnot. And he told me that he wants to focus on his weaknesses, and that's his social and professional skills. So what better way to tackle that than by taking on a position of leadership in an organization that's making such a big impact in medicine right now. So the next person is someone who is a prime example of you can do whatever you want in medical school and still do well in school. So this is an individual that tells me that, she prefers medical school over undergrad because, again, you don't need to go nuts about memorizing all the details because it's a pass-fail system, right? You don't need to get 100% all the time. Now, I'm not saying for those who are aiming for 100%, you shouldn't be aiming for 100%. Kudos to you. If you're able, if that's what you want, if that's what makes you happy, then go for it. Just make sure that you don't burn out in the process. That's what I'm trying to highlight here. So this girl is someone who has 2 part-time jobs. She does research. She publishes. She's part of 10 clubs. She's an editor. She plays basketball. CEO of an association. She's an ambassador. And she does this by all while living by herself, makes time for her friends, family, and whatnot. So, and, she highlights the fact that obviously some parts are easier than others, and then she says something really cute here, where she says medical school is very enjoyable, particularly when you have people like Manny around. But in reality, it's the fact that all of the medical students at McGill, I find, are just such a group of amazing individuals, and they all have so much to bring to the table. Just being around each and every one of them, it brings me joy, and it makes me hopeful that these are people who are going to be excellent physicians one day. And I'm really, really looking forward to working with them as physicians in the future. And then she also says how I'm very formal and my hair is very formal because, it looks pretty good. To quickly go over a couple other quotes. So one of my classmates says that she volunteers in an organization that's unrelated to medicine, hangs out with friends, schedules walks, she reads before bed. Then another classmate of mine, he sleeps as much as possible. I'm all for that. Sleep is my number one priority in medical school. He plays team sports, tries to stay active, spend some time with his family, a movie night and good food. See, that's awesome. Then another classmate is completely different. So he does hockey advising for semi-pro hockey players. Incredible stuff. And then he says, optimize your time management skills. Don't waste time. Don't procrastinate. Get stuff done. It's important to prioritize health and well-being. If you don't do this, everything else gets harder. Burnout sets in. I completely agree with him. Another individual says, surround yourself with people outside of medical school because they keep you in check. Yeah. So the people that I'm going to play soccer with, none of them are in medical school. These are the people that I grew up with prior to medical school. They're still my best friends, and they do keep me in check because they, I don't have to worry about, discussing what's going on in class, what's going on in clinic, what's going to go on in our future and stuff like that. And finally, another classmate of mine says he plays basketball and board games. Again, these are things that are unrelated to medical school. It's important to have a good balance of improving your medical knowledge and practical skills and social skills, but at the same time, do the things you love. Do the things that you were doing before medical school. Not the things that you were doing to get yourself into medical school. The things that you were doing because you actually enjoyed doing them and you still want to do them. Find time for those things. And I just want to share one more quote with you guys. I think this one's especially important. So this person says that she does CrossFit, she watches movies, runs, parties, work, read books, healthcare appointments, video games, outside of medical school. And I said, okay, well, how do you manage all of this? What's your advice to other students? And she said that, medicine's a long learning process. There's no rush to sacrifice precious time to get 1 or 2% more, considering that's pass or fail. Do things you like. And then she raises a really, really important point. So she says, I suggest people see a psychologist to learn how to manage anxiety and performance anxiety. And I think that's really, really important. There's this huge stigma that medical students or medical professionals or healthcare professionals in general, whether you're a physician, a nurse, occupational physiotherapist, you name it. There's this stigma that healthcare professionals should not be seeking mental health. It's that they should be treating people for mental health. But the reality is that these are really, really stressful jobs, and there are high rates of burnouts, especially now during pandemic. So imagine medical students who have to go through this huge competitive process just to get into medical school. The amount of anxiety that brings to an individual is immense. There's nothing wrong with going to see a psychologist, psychiatrist, a therapist, you name it, someone that you can talk to about your anxiety or about anything that you're struggling with so that they can help you. If you learn these techniques for yourself as a physician, then you'll be able to help other people go through these rough patches in their lives as well. So I think that's really important. I wanted to spend some extra time on that. So thank you to my classmate who shared that important message. So I know this video has been a little lengthier than others, so we're gonna cap it here. I just wanna specify that no matter what program you're in, try to think about the things that you like to do outside of school and do them, because an optional work-life balance equals a happy and successful student. That being said, friends, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, philosophical inquiries, leave them down in the comment section down below. And of course, I will catch you all in the next one. Oh, and happy Easter to everyone celebrating today.